Hey team, it's day 67. I hope you're doing great. Wanting to get into the 6 goals today, but also wanting to talk a little bit about what does it mean when someone says, you got to hit your macros. I had a question from one of my followers on that, and probably had some jabroni and the gym come up and be like, hey, are you hitting your macros? And I don't know why I say it like that. Maybe because I think that's what a jabroni sounds like. I don't know. Anyway, let's go through the 6 goals first, and then we will talk about what does hitting your macros mean. So here we go. Day 67, 33 days left, pushing hard, 216.2. I was a little more this morning. My calories were there, my water was there, but then boom, I actually got to sleep a decent time last night, and I woke up, some kid stuff. That just happens. I think I got like 5, a little over 5. I just put it to 5.5 because I wasn't 100% sure, but it wasn't enough. And my activity yesterday, I was at my daughter's banquet and then had to come home and do some things and just had a ton of work and stuff. Yeah, so I didn't even, minimal, doing some walking and things, but not enough to say I had good activity yesterday. 201 grams of protein. So let's keep pushing. Those of you that are following, hey, we got a decent amount of time. Let's get going. Let's push towards that goal. So when somebody asks you, hey man, you've been hitting your macros, you just are like, what? What's going on here? And basically, what does hitting your macros mean? I'm going to do this in purple because I like to be colorful. It just basically means is getting an ideal, I'm going to put quotes around the ideal ratio of carbs, fats, protein. So if you remember, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I talked about a macro exchange, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, talked about a macro exchange and how like, if you want to get more carbs in your diet, but you want to stay at the same amount of calories, you have to do basically 2.5 grams of carbs for every 1 gram of fat, so on and so forth as we move through this. So getting an ideal ratio of carbs, fats, and protein. So what does that exactly mean? It means that, for instance, as we went through and have gone through that, our weight loss journey is when you look at carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, they all have a calorie value to them. So it's basically what is your ideal ratio of what you eat during a day to help you lose weight or like get you to your physical goals. Now, for most of us, having a calorie or something that keeps track of your overall consumption is probably enough. Now, as you get down to the place to where you start to really level off and get to your weight goal, you might want to look more at, what is not just my overall weight, but what is overall my body composition. Some people have, I want to get more tone, I want to do those things, and then maybe you will have to start looking at your macros and getting your macros in order to make sure that you're building the proper amount of muscle and whatever your physical goals are is in place, because it does matter when you get to that, but I'm honestly not 100% sure how much over time, depending on just depending on what your goals are. And there is not a cookie cutter way for everybody to do this. So let's start out, and I know it's not as scientific as probably some people in the industry would want it, but when you take a look at me, I have recommended, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So when you take a look at it, I'm doing something similar here. 1 gram protein per pound, that's an LB, of body weight. And I just like that. I like 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Remember, my doctor said, hey, I might go 0.5 to 0.75, to each his or her own, but that's what I like to go with. So if I'm gonna get my macros, I have to say, okay, my goal weight is 206, and that's how many grams of protein I want. So 206 protein equals, what's that times 4? 824 calories per day of protein. Now we know when we talk about our ranges that we want, 2,000 to 2,300. So as we get closer to that 2,060 range, because technically that's a rule of 10. So let's just put, just to make it super difficult for all us math people out there, 2,060, let's just say that's my daily target. How can I get and I want 1 gram per pound, right? So 206 is my ideal weight or my goal weight. That's where I want to go with this. Oh, I got another color here. I want to be colorful. So then we say, okay, how much fat do you do then, Richard? Like, how much fat do you do? Well, I know that for me, I want to keep my carbs a decent amount. Like I told you, I'd have to up them a little bit to ensure that I have more energy, yada, 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 because I'm lifting heavier and things. So for me, 70 grams of fat is where I kind of want to be. So, and that's just, I figured that out over time. So 70 grams of fat, and fat has 9 calories. I should probably write that down. So 4 calories per gram. I'll just put that over the top, 4 calories. Fat has 9. Got all these colors. So we're going to be at 70 times 9 is 630 calories per day of fat. And then we say, okay, well, what do you do with carbohydrates? How many carbohydrates should we get? Well, it's just a simple math problem then to say, I'll pick up the brown, to say, well, I have 824 of protein, 630 of fat, so that's going to give me 1,454 calories total. So then you say, okay, 220/60 minus my 1,454 gives you, what is that, 606? Yeah, 606. Let's do that just to make sure. Yeah, 606, finish the equation, 606 calories from carb. And that would give me my 2,060 calories. But then we're like, wait a minute, how many grams do I got to do that? Well, there's 4 calories per gram also of carb. So that would be 4 into 606. 4 is 20, 5, 6, that's 1. So 151 calories roughly. So then or 151 grams of carbohydrates. So then you would say for the day, so that would equal your 606, roughly your 606 calories. So you would say, I got to switch it back to pink. So if I do 206 protein, 70 fat, and 151 carb, that would equal my 2,060 roughly, we're a little bit short here, calories per day, which at 206 pounds, using the rule of 10, doing absolutely nothing, should be right around my maintenance calories. So that, in a sense, would be how I would hit my macros. And there, that's the last time you're going to hear me use that weird voice. But so that's what you could do. And when you look at your calorie app counters like Fat Secret, the one that I use, it actually gives you a little pie chart of what your macros are. So it does show you how you're eating during the day. And I think over time, as you tweak and see how your body reacts to different things, I mean, I've told you guys a ton of different times how my body reacts to things. I think what you'll really find, I don't know why I'm putting the markers down. It's kind of like the ADHD hits me. It's like a pinball machine or a Powerball machine, just like things just come out of my mouth for just randomly. It's random sometimes, just like randomly putting markers down. But that's how you hit your macros. I hope this helps. I know it's a little busy on the board, but when you hear somebody talk about hitting their macros, honestly, if you're tracking your calories, you should see a macronutrient breakdown, which is just proteins, carbs, and fats. And over time, depending on where your sweet spot is, you should be able to look at your eating patterns as you lose weight to say, on these days I felt the best, and then take a look at what you ate from a carb, protein, and fat perspective, and then think about the activity you did and kind of blend them together and say, Okay, on workout days, X is the way that I like to eat. If I'm just walking, oh, I felt better on these days. And over time, I think you'll see a pattern emerge. And it might not be the same on days that you do like heavy workouts compared to days that you don't. Maybe you eat more carbohydrate on the days before you do the heavy workout. And then on the days that you don't, where you're just walking, maybe you eat a higher protein, higher fat diet that day and drop the carbohydrates a little bit. It all depends, but it is about you. It's not about anybody else. It's not about Joe Schmo down the street and here's how he or she eats macros. I guess it was Joe, so I would say he, but you never know. It's not about how they do it. It's how you do it with your body. And unless you go through some sort of time to test and see how you like as you lose weight, like I said, somebody can do that starting point for you. I can do the starting point for you, but over time you're gonna have to tweak to see where you wanna go. That's why I say start with the rule of 10, work your way into that, just like we've done in this program, and over time, just by tracking your food, you will get to a pattern of hitting your macros or macronutrients that you feel the best. Because otherwise it's too damn complicated and that's not what we want to do here. For the majority of us, this is all you need. But I wanted to let you know what people are talking about when they do that. So anyway, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it. Let me know if you have any comments, any questions, leave them below. I'll answer them in the comments or on subsequent videos. But as always, I appreciate your support and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks again.